Chapter 1 My Azure Jade Flow. On a sweltering September night, in a cramped dwelling, a disheveled young man in his mid-20s was drenched in perspiration, fixated on a computer that seemed on the verge of crashing. His bloodshot eyes sparkled with excitement as he gazed at the screen, displaying the graphics of the venerable online martial arts game, Jian Xiaqin Yuan 3. The untidy man was engrossed in following a guide while undertaking a quest that, at last, it is completed. Let me see the prowess of this grand orange weapon that cost me my life savings, he murmured to himself, unable to mask his genuine exhilaration. He opened his inventory and equipped the Azure Jade Flow, and suddenly, a Guqin radiating a soft, azure mist materialized on his character's back. In his pursuit of crafting this orange-tier weapon, Lu Zixuan had poured all his savings into it, foreseeing months of survival on instant noodles. Yet, as a gaming enthusiast, his aspiration was to possess an extraordinary weapon between subsisting on instant noodles for half a year or wielding a magnificent weapon. Lu Zixuan chose the latter. Just as Lu Zixuan prepared to test the extent of the output enhancement from the Azure Jade Flow, darkness enveloped him, and a familiar map music abruptly ceased. "Come on, don't toy with me, dear computer," Lu Zixuan pleaded, instinctively reaching for the restart button on the tower, pressing it gently before releasing it. However, the anticipated sound of the machine booting up did not materialize, causing an unsettling heaviness to settle in his heart as he feared that his computer had met its untimely demise. Defying fate, he pressed the power button, yet the room remained eerily silent, but a surge of anger ignited within Lu Zixuan with each press of the power button. His fury only intensified. Ultimately, consumed by rage, he struck the monitor with a clenched fist, exclaiming in despair, "My Azure Jade Flow." Sparks flew in the dim room. A mere 15 seconds later, tranquility returned to the space. The following afternoon, a local television station interrupted its programming with a news bulletin. Internet-addicted young man fatally electrocuted while smashing his computer. In the serene and tranquil valley of the great forest of Heavenly Fall, a melodious sound of a flute echoed. This was the heart of the great forest, where soul beasts boasted at least 80,000 years of cultivation. For humans, this realm was a forbidden zone, yet there sat a small boy clad in rudimentary animal skins, deeply engrossed in playing a short flute atop a massive rock at the valley's entrance. On the wall to the right of the boy, a cicada-like soul beast the size of a water buffalo, resembling Jade, suddenly paused the enchanting melody. "What troubles you, Zixuan?" inquired the cicada, surprisingly articulate. The young boy sighed. "Grandpa Cicada, it has been 6 years since our first encounter, hasn't it?" A hint of inexplicable sorrow flickered in Lu Zixuan's clear eyes. For 6 years prior, after his untimely electrocution, he had arrived in this world, reborn as an abandoned infant in the forest. Lu Zixuan had initially believed that he would either be devoured by a ferocious beast or perish from starvation. His astonishment. His cries attracted a jade, cicada the size of a water buffalo. This cicada took Lu Zixuan under its wing, nurturing him in this valley for the past 6 years. Over the course of these 6 years, Lu Zixuan had grown accustomed to the cicada's ability to speak human language, even coming to regard it as family. In truth, it was family according to the cicada. It was an ancient beast known as the archaic jade cicada, boasting a cultivation of 800,000 years, while Lu Zixuan was its second grandson. Additionally, there was a granddaughter, a blue-silver emperor named Ayin, who had transformed from a Tentasandier spirit beast into a human over 30 years ago, choosing not to continue cultivating in her original form. Generally, spirit beasts that live for 100,000 years face two paths. Either they cultivate into human form, or they endure a cataclysmic tribulation to become a ferocious beast. However, not every 100,000-year spirit beast can successfully become a ferocious beast. Failure to survive the tribulation leads to complete annihilation. Under the protection of the archaic jade cicada, the previously unknown Ayin had ascended to the realm of Soul Sage in the human world after her cultivation. Soul Masters are a unique profession among humanity in this world, with individuals awakening their martial souls at the age of 6. Those who can cultivate their martial souls to enhance their power are known as Soul Masters, while those who cannot are merely ordinary people. The cultivation of a Soul Master is measured by soul power, which spans a total of 100 levels, each 10 levels corresponding to a title. Soul Scholar, Soul Master, Great, Soul Master, Soul Sovereign, Soul Sect, Soul King, Soul Emperor, Soul Sage, Soul Dalu, and title Douluo. Lu Zixuan pondered his own impending awakening at the age of 6. He felt no fear, even in the absence of a martial soul. Upon regaining consciousness in this world, he discovered a martial arts mental method named the Smiling Dust Technique in his mind. Though not entirely familiar, he recognized it as the martial arts philosophy from his previous life, specifically from the game Sorchiching San, associated with the Beggar's Sect. The smiling dust technique primarily encompasses two martial arts forms, the 18 dragon-subduing palms and the dog-beat stick method. This technique emphasizes both internal and external cultivation, with the dragon-subduing palms being powerful and fierce, while the dog-beat stick method is agile and versatile. Lu Zixuan had only whimsically created a minor character in the Beggar's Sect and had not deeply studied its martial arts. His true calling lay in the graceful art of the Qin, excelling in healing and swordplay through his primary profession of longsong. Unbeknownst to the archaic Jade cicada, Lu Zixuan was preoccupied with the intricacies of his own abilities, wearing a troubled expression. Mistaking Lu Zixuan's melancholy for sorrow over their bond, the cicada consoled him, saying, "Do not be disheartened, Zixuan. I have already survived for 200,000 years. I was meant to perish 100,000 years ago. My demise is merely in accordance with the will of heaven. My only regret is not being able to witness Yin's ascension to divinity 200,000 years prior. During its tribulation, the archaic Jade cicada had nearly met its end due to a treacherous plot by enemies. Although it managed to survive and vanquish its foes, it was gravely weakened and could no longer assume human form. In a moment of despair, contemplating surrender to the tribulations of the heavens, I encountered the newly awakened consciousness of the blue silvergrass. Yin, the ancient Jade cicada, was filled with regret, having toiled for countless years only to find his efforts amounting to naught. Thus, the ancient Jade cicada resolved to cultivate a deity of his own, concealing his injuries to alleviate Yin's worries, allowing him to focus wholeheartedly on his training. 10,000 years prior, he had barely survived a heavenly tribulation, and now, the time had come again. The ancient Jade cicada understood that he could not withstand this impending trial 6 years ago. He ventured to the outskirts of the Starfall Forest to bid a final farewell to Yin. There, he encountered Lu Zixuan, who had been reborn in the forest. In that instant, a spark of inspiration ignited within the ancient Jade cicada, leading him to raise Lu Zixuan. Once Lu Zixuan awakened his martial soul, the ancient Jade cicada planned to anchor his own soul ring within Lu Zixuan's martial spirit, thereby prolonging his consciousness to witness Yin's ascension to divinity, and perhaps even assist Lu Zixuan in achieving the same. The ancient Jade cicada's aged yet gentle voice resonated once more. Zixuan, let us proceed with the martial soul awakening ceremony. For 200,000 years, he had navigated the human realm in the guise of a human. He was well acquainted with the simplicity of the martial soul awakening ceremony. Lu Zixuan was gently lifted into the air by a tender surge of soul power, as the ancient Jade cicada reassured him, "Do not fear. Focus intently on perceiving my soul power." Upon hearing the ancient Jade cicada's words, Lu Zixuan closed his eyes, sensing the soul power coursing through his body, guiding the internal energy of the laughing dust. Decision towards his right, at last. An indescribable sensation of exhilaration surged forth from his right palm. The ancient Jade cicada sighed in relief. "It is done, Zixuan. Behold your martial soul." Lu Zixuan gazed at his right hand and beheld a 1-inch long, azure black jade chain, enveloped in a mist of cerulean light, floating above it. "This is the Azure Jade Flow Chain," Lu Zixuan murmured, entranced by the slowly rotating martial soul. The ancient Jade cicada suddenly remarked, "How peculiar. Could it be a twin martial soul?" At that moment, with a thought, a pitch-black long blade emerged from the belly of the Azure Jade Flow Chain, manifesting as the Inkstone Blade, an integral part of Qin. Lu Zixuan was bewildered as to why his martial soul resembled the Azure Jade Flow from a game, while his martial arts were based on the Beggar's Sect's laughing dust decision. However, he understood that he had attained greatness. The Longsong Sect specialized in ranged attacks, while the Beggar's Sect was dedicated to close combat. The mere thought of their union filled him with a sense of having reached the pinnacle of his journey. The ancient Jade cicada, undistracted by Lu Zixuan's foolish grin, meticulously examined the Azure Jade Flow, pondering, such an extraordinary martial soul. The essences of the two souls are indeed interconnected. Yet, regardless of the nature of Lu Zixuan's martial soul, the ancient Jade cicada had no choice but to proceed, urging, "Zixuan, let's begin." With that, he gently fluttered his wings, and a vivid crimson soul ring, laced with strands of gold, materialized atop the head of the ancient Jade cicada and gradually diminished, enveloping Lu Zixuan within its embrace. Lu Zixuan had long prepared for his martial soul to be regarded as the sanctuary of the ancient Jade cicada. When he cultivated the inner strength of the laughing dust technique, he integrated the right arm soul bone of its nemesis, the blood fiend mantis. Renowned as a fearsome beast, the blood fiend mantis was infamous for its deadly, scythe-like appendages, having claimed the lives of countless human soul masters and soul beasts alike. With the aid of the blood fiend mantis soul bone, Lu Zixuan had achieved the first major completion of the laughing dust technique a year prior. However, he had not managed to make further progress since then, remaining steadfast in his training without a moment's delay. According to the ancient Jade cicada, the limit of soul power attainable by human soul masters before awakening their martial soul and acquiring a soul ring was thus defined. As for the distinction between soul power and inner strength, Lu Zixuan remained entirely oblivious, presuming that soul power was merely the term employed in this world to denote inner strength. Chapter 2. 6 Soul Skills. Once the soul ring of the ancient Jade cicada enveloped him, Lu Zixuan felt an overwhelming surge of formidable soul power infusing into his martial soul, causing the Jade lyre to expand from a mere foot to a height of 1.5 meters. The torrent of soul power continued to pour into the Jade lyre, and as the ancient Jade cicada's essence flowed into it, both the Jade lyre and the inkstone blade grew increasingly substantial, ultimately resembling tangible objects devoid of any ethereal quality. The phenomenon of a martial soul materializing into a state of reality is termed the true body of the beast martial soul for beast-type martial souls and the true body of the weapon martial soul for weapon-type martial souls. However, both manifestations typically occur only when a soul master surpasses the 70th level of soul power. Remarkably, Lu Zixuan achieved the true body of the weapon martial soul while merely absorbing the first soul ring, a feat made possible by the ancient Jade cicada infusing nearly 99% of its soul power into the Jade lyre. Given Lu Zixuan's current physical constitution, he could scarcely withstand even 1/10 of the ancient Jade cicada's soul power, necessitating this compromise. As the Jade lyre, now as tangible as reality, was surrounded by a soul ring, the colors began to shift gradually from golden red to red, then to a glossy black, followed by black, glossy purple, purple, golden yellow, yellow, and finally culminating in a silvery white HUIT. Was only at this point that the ancient Jade cicada ceased to compress and infuse further soul power into the Jade lyre. As the flow of soul power coursed into Lu Zixuan's body, a flash of spiritual light shot forth from the Jade lyre, piercing into the center of his brow. Lu Zixuan promptly succumbed to unconsciousness, and within his dreams, he found himself incessantly playing two melodies. Point 1 was titled Spring Snow, an aggressive composition that utilized the pentatonic scale for long-range sound blade attacks. The other, 3 variations of the Plum Blossom, served as a healing piece, allowing him to wield his soul power to mend the injuries of those who heard its notes and dispel any aberrant states. Naturally, the healing efficacy diminished with the number of individuals treated. Conversely, treating just one individual can yield immediate results. In essence, the Qingyu Lu martial spirit, whether for supportive healing or offensive output, manifests its abilities through the melodies played on a guqin. When Lu Zixuan awoke from his stupor, the ancient Jade cicada lay quietly in the valley. He hurriedly rose to his feet, calling out, "Grandfather! Grandfather!" The echoes reverberated throughout the valley. In his moment of confusion, a brilliant silver light suddenly erupted beneath his feet, revealing a shimmering silver ring that encircled his body and ascended gracefully. Then, a fist-sized apparition of the ancient Jade cicada appeared before Lu Zixuan, saying, "Zixuan, grandfathers find that I never expected that my sacrificial soul ring could preserve my soul. Haha, the heavens truly have eyes." Lu Zixuan, bewildered, could hardly comprehend this revelation. Although the ancient Jade cicada had enlightened him on numerous aspects of the relationship between soul masters and soul beasts, it had never mentioned such a method of sacrifice. Yet the ancient Jade cicada did not vanish as Lu Zixuan had presumed. Instead, a look of excitement illuminated its visage. "Grandfather, you're safe. This is truly wonderful." Saying this, Lu Zixuan reached out to grasp the cicada hovering before him, but his attempts were in vain. Understanding Lu Zixuan's attachment, the ancient Jade cicada reassured him. All right, Zixuan. I find this current existence within your martial spirit exceedingly effortless." At that moment, the ancient Jade cicada noticed the Qingyu Lu Qin, which towered above Lu Zixuan. "Zixuan, what is the nature of your martial spirit?" "I sense the presence of 2 martial spirits." Nodding, Lu Zixuan revealed the inkstone blade hidden beneath the belly of the Qingyu Lu Qin. The inkstone blade measured 4 feet 5 inches in length, 3 inches 2 lines in width, and 2 lines 1/10 of an inch in thickness, its entirety a deep black. Shimmering with a jade-like luster, a S. Lu Zixuan detached the inkstone blade from the Qingyu Lu Qin. A silver soul ring glimmered at the top of the hilt. The inky blade exhibited a purple sheen, while simultaneously emitting a sound akin to that of a summer cicada. A tingling sensation emanated from the hilt. Inkstone blade's first soul skill. Ultrasonic shock blade. The thought suddenly surged in Lu Zixuan's mind. He grasped the inkstone blade, which towered over him. Yet the blade, radiant with purple light, effortlessly sliced through the stone pedestal beneath his feet. Astonished by the perfectly smooth cut, Lu Zixuan was genuinely captivated. The blade vibrated in harmony with the frequency of the ancient Jade cicada's call, resembling a true ultrasonic cutting blade. The characteristic of the ultrasonic shock blade is that it becomes sharper when cutting through harder materials. If combined with the skill Blood Slaughter 12 cuts granted by the Blood Slaughter Mantis right arm soul bone, it would feel as if he could achieve divine prowess in an instant. Meanwhile, the soul of the ancient Jade cicada gazed in utter astonishment at the inkstone blade emanating purple light in Lu Zixuan's grasp. The dual martial spirits require separate soul rings to acquire their soul skills. However, Lu Zixuan's blade martial soul abilities were evidently bestowed upon him by the spirit rings, leaving the ancient Jade cicada utterly perplexed as to the nature of this phenomenon. The soul of the ancient Jade cicada, residing within Lu Zixuan's martial spirit, could distinctly perceive an additional ability of the inkstone blade. Lu Zixuan, albeit with considerable effort, positioned the inkstone blade before him, preparing to thrust, and proclaimed, "First soul skill," cicada's cry piercing the heavens. As his words echoed in the air, the blade shimmered with a radiant purple light that suddenly began to swirl before directing itself towards the opposing rock wall. A beam of light, approximately 10 meters in length, shot forth from the inkstone blade, striking into the rock face across from him. Before he could fully comprehend the spectacle, Lu Zixuan felt an overwhelming fatigue envelop him, causing him to collapse onto the ground. I am not one to stir up trouble. However, when trouble arrives, I take great pleasure in resolving it. Today, I shall contend with Xiaochuan alone.